Thank you very much. Thank you. So I spend most of my life taking our clients' technologies and turning them into products that consumers really want. And when clients don't have technologies, we invent technologies that consumers really want. But today I want to talk about something that's dear to me, and that is an alternate way of looking at green. As you all know, that being green is not easy. It's tough, and here you can see a noble effort by us to take products and recycle them again and again and again. But the reality is that less than 2% of what we develop as waste goes into recycling. I want to talk about two primary products that are two consumptions that we do, the car and the house, and just a slightly different way of looking at them. So if we talk about housing, my wife and I had the experience. We moved here from Canada 10 years ago. We bought a piece of land. We decided I'm going to be the designer of the house. I hired a structural engineer. I hired a draftsman to help me draw it up, and away we go. So we bought the land. We cleared it up. We built a foundation. We go on, and I'm a little bit of a fanatic about structure and quality, so we ended up putting 49 caissons that go down 45 feet. This house isn't going anywhere. You can see a lot of concrete. And then this happened. And I haven't really thought about it until the construction went along. Here we are, half of the house buried underground in concrete, solid as anything can be, and the other half above ground, made out of lumber. And, in Europe, in the Middle East, in India, in China, houses are made out of concrete. So why are we building them out of lumber? Other than a few hundred years back, when people came here, lumber was in abundance, and that's how we built them. The interesting thing is it takes more than 36 trees to build an average US framed home. 25% of human greenhouse gas emissions are caused by deforestation. Wood frame homes are vulnerable to infestation and not really a very good insulator. So I started looking at concrete. Why are we not building the shells out of concrete? As it turns out, it's made out of 10 to 15% Portland cement. It's just, rock quarried from local rock. 60 to 75% is, gravel and sand. 15 to 20% is water, and 5 to 10% is just mixed and it's aerated. And here, the beauty of concrete is that it can last for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. Some of the European structures that you see date back to early AD. The house on the right is actually a new construction developed for Hurricane Katrina. It can withstand tremendous hurricanes. The middle house is a Japanese house, so you can do anything you want with concrete. It's very resistant to termite. Termites can't do anything with concrete. There's no visual difference between a concrete house and a wood frame home. It's a much better insulator than wood. It reduces operating costs by a considerable amount of money. It can withstand earthquakes and hurricanes if designed properly. And then I keep hearing that it actually costs more than wood frames, but the reality, it takes less money to maintain it, than a wood frame. And then I started digging a little bit more into that, and I found out that there's an architect named Irving Gill back in the 1920s who developed, this is just one of the construction sites that he developed, and it was really affordable housing. He was an ex-military guy that his job was to develop army barracks and all out of prefab concrete. So the reality is, if designed properly, a concrete house should not cost more than a wood frame home. And for me, part of being green is longevity. When we moved here from Canada, we have severe winters, so, you want to build them really well. And in California, a house that's up 40, 60, 80 years, we're happy. For me, it doesn't quite jive. Why can't it be up for hundreds of years? So longevity equals value. Longevity equals green. So if we take that concept in how we, move forward with our lives and build the next home, you can look at other things that if longevity equals green in construction, we can also look at antiques. Antiques are hundreds of years old. I think it's green. Collectibles, classic cars are green. Collectibles are green. We have this concept of it's recyclable, I'm green. There's the other part of it where if a product lasts a long time, it is more green than something recyclable, especially if only 2% of it ends up in a recycling plant. So longevity also creates an emotional connect with consumers. We really get to know our product. We think twice about this product because it's going to last a long time. And again, that equals green. That's a picture of my father. He passed away a few years ago. But when I was about 10, 12 years old, I was saving money to buy an electric train. And my father was German-born. He's an Israeli diplomat, or was an Israeli diplomat, and he was very much into thinking and analyzing, especially if you're an Israeli diplomat. You have to think a lot about what you're going to say next. And one thing he said to me, which I will never forget, he said to me, we're too poor to buy something cheap. And he didn't say that regarding the cost of the product. He said that regarding the emotional connect with the product. And he went on to say, you're going back at least 4 decades, our natural resources are being depleted. That's somebody that really had a vision about where we're going in the future. Let's talk about automobiles, my second favorite subject. So here's a regular San Diego commute, and this is what a lot of people are faced with every single day. And watch this guy run in front of me. He's going to cut over to the commuter lane. I'm guilty of that. I've done it a few times. I also paid quite a few tickets for that. But nevertheless, that's really an action of frustration. So, you know, what's happening today, there's 32,000 miles of new highway being built every year, which represents 0.4% of the growth that's happening right now. The rate of drivers is going up at 1.2%. Each year, there's 3.7 million cars being added to highways. The last decade, over 17 million cars were sold. This decade is more like around 11 million. There's over 250 million cars on the roads today. Basically, our infrastructure can't keep up with it, no matter what we do. Another interesting thing about the automobile is that cars built 40 years ago and cars built today, on average, are 1,000 pounds heavier. 1,000 pounds heavier. And you know, some people say, well, it's because of safety reasons. Point is, they're 1,000 pounds heavier. Yet the fuel efficiency today is better than 40 years ago. So imagine if we shed those 1,000 pounds, we can easily meet the standards set for 2015, 2020, without blinking an eye, just shedding 1,000 pounds. The average car has 260 pounds of plastic in it, which represent 100 gallons of oil. Something to think about. Our average car today is about 70 inches wide, some are much wider, weighs over 3,000 pounds, and has a standard position where you've got the driver and the passenger, which dates way back to the horse and buggy. Yet our commuting habits are such that over 77% of the cars, single occupancy, driver only, 77%. Carpooling has dropped. Walking to work has dropped. I think this is a new definition of insanity, where a car weighs over 3,000 pounds to move an average person of 180 pounds, to take them from point A to point B 77% of the time. Now we're talking about electric cars. They add another 500 to 700 pounds. So the equation is not getting much better. Regardless of how we decide to power our cars, what really we should look at is creating narrower cars. If an average car is 70 inches, 50 inches for a narrower car is ample for any size person. We should create a sensible ratio between passenger and vehicle. So let's say there's a 180-pound person equals 500-pound vehicle. So a two-person passenger, 1,000 pounds for 2,000, something like that. We should design the cars from the ground up, literally. We should look at dedicated highways and redistribution to accommodate narrower cars and motorcycles. We should create dedicated parking spots, narrower specifically for those narrow cars. These cars can be fun, that give really a joy to drive. They don't have to be, 0 to 60 in 30 seconds. Doesn't mean that at all. They can be tremendous cars to drive and good for both urban commuting and suburban highway, long distance. You don't need to have a dedicated car just for urban, a dedicated car for highway. And we have over 2 cars, and the average family has over 2 cars. One of them can be this. One of the things I noticed also that's very interesting, by the way, I'm doing all this videoing while I'm driving. This is really, don't do that. I had to do this, though. So here we are, stuck in traffic, going to LA, and look at those motorcycles. They're moving right along, even better than the commuter lane, yet they're relegated to drive smack on the white line. I mean, it doesn't make sense to me. So we have this perception that big cars are safer. I want to talk about that a bit, because here there's a test between a Mini Cooper and a Ford F-150, both at 40 miles an hour. The Mini Cooper, you walk away free and clear. The F-150, you lose your legs. This is an interesting one. This is a Formula One car driven by Michael Schumacher. Watch what happens now. This car weighs 1,300 pounds with the driver. Look at this. What you're going to see is walks away free and clear. So it's not bigger is better, it's how you design the car. This is an exercise. We designed a flight simulator a few years back, made out of aluminum, cost $15 million. We were supposed to redesign it. And one of the jobs was to reduce the cost of the product. So we decided to go from aluminum to carbon fiber. The client started screaming and yelling, carbon fiber is many, many times more expensive than aluminum, we'll never achieve it. In fact is that we reduced it by 20%. So it's really how you use the materials, not which materials you pick, and which materials you pick as well. You can see the size of the product, it's quite large. This is a new initiative by VW in Europe. In 2013, they're going to launch this new car. It's an aero car, it goes 170 miles a gallon, powered by diesel and electric hybrid. Weighs 800 pounds. So I want to leave you with this message. We have the process. We most definitely have the know-how. But what we need to do, that we really have a hard time doing, is changing the story. Thank you. Thank you.